My phone says it's 6:30, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Here.
Kinsley.
Present. Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Cruz. Harper.
Here.
Rector. Murphy.
Here. And let the record show that Ms. Cruz has arrived. Can I have a motion on tonight's agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or changes or adjustments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that will pass. All right. Can I have a motion on the approval of the minutes from our May 2nd meeting, please?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
And a second from Mr. Rosales. Any suggestions, changes, or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We will move on to public participation. Looks like we have none. Move on to communications. Any communications from board members? Seeing no communications, we will go ahead and close that. We have, for information only, a discussion on the Sheriff's Office and Downtown Jail Master Plan. Dana.
I'm going to kind of turn to Pius and you a little bit. We met as a group on the 18th of May. Participants, the sheriff, Carrie Vogus, I believe, participated, Captain of Corrections, Josh, Pius, myself, Tammy, Rick. Am I leaving anybody out? I think that was it. Talked about starting dialogue about what would be necessary to try and close the downtown jail portion and possibly move the sheriff's office to a different location. Hit a lot of high points. I think there's some work to be done. Sheriff and I are meeting, as we talked about in the meeting, with the firm that drew up the preliminary satellite jail discussion plans, talking about a small addition over there of a new intake. Well, what that take, what's the size necessary, the potential for trying to convert the current intake into a medical unit for the sheriff, where we could have 24-hour coverage. So that meeting actually will be taking place on Friday. So should be able to report back to that group after that what we find and what information we can put together.
Thank you, Dana. One of the things we talked about extensively was the possibility of some temporary facilities. Did those get looked into, and what are the possibilities with those?
We are talking with that group on Friday about all of those aspects, and I forgot about the temporary. The question came up, what can we do with temporary housing that's portable in nature? Basically, if you look at the downtown, Urbana downtown, there's a new bar that was put up 2 years ago, and they use storage containers. It's the thought of using something like a storage container for parts of a jail. Is that possible? What could be done? So we'll have a discussion about that with the folks on Friday as well.
Storage containers?
It's a concept.
It's
yes.
they are not rehab storage containers. They are actual temporary structures that are built for the purpose of housing inmates. They're not conversions or things like that. It's more like mobile homes for temporary storage. Yeah. When you're basically, the idea being that some of the estimates are that these things last around a decade, around 10 years. Within that 10 years, then a lot of things can change for us so that we can make this temporary investment rather than doing a major renovation of the jail.
And the reason I smile, because it sounds like Sheriff Arpaio with tent cities.
I would agree, and I would never agree to tent cities. I don't think that's appropriate. But if these are feasible, livable structures and they would be used for minimum security, it might be a potential thing rather than spending millions of dollars on a jail expansion.
Have we looked into the possibilities of in-house detention with monitors?
I,
That'd be a lot cheaper.
we've talked about that, and that's kind of in the sheriff's area of expertise, and they say that there's not anyone that could be out on that isn't. Now, that's the sheriff's call. So, that's for that. But the main thing is that we are considering using also sending people out of county to other jails if we get the downtown facility closed, if we still have overflow. Yeah, Shayna.
So these units would be more like what the schools use for like overflow versus, okay.
Yeah, they're not little. They're not cargo containers that we're just sticking people in. They would be temporary homes.
Cruel
Any
and unusual.
From anybody? Okay, that will continue on through this Friday. So thank you, Dana, for being on that. We'll move on to number 8, items for committee approval. We have none tonight, so we'll move ahead then to those to be recommended to the county board. And A is the intergovernmental lease with the city of Urbana.
Hello. Late last year, the city of Urbana approached us about placing their backup AS400 out here at Brookins, since we're geographically separate from the city building but still on the same network. We decided that we probably needed to formalize that in some kind of intergovernmental agreement. Barb Mann suggested that we develop a lease, so we have done that. The lease has been reviewed by the state's attorney's office, the city attorney, and then also Dana. So I think we're ready to seek approval from the board. The version you have, there has been one change to it that we'll make sure is included in the board packet. The final signature page has been changed to reflect the new mayor and the new city clerk for the city of Urbana, but that's the only change.
Can I have a motion, please, then, on this? Moved by Mr. Rector. A second? Second from Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? Sounds like a good deal. Thank you, Andy. Pius?
Is there, I guess, what does the county have to do? They have to just maintain the climate, I suppose? Make
Yeah,
sure the
it'll
roof
be
doesn't
upstairs.
leak?
It'll be upstairs with the rest of our server equipment.
Okay.
Where we have an uninterruptible power supply
So-
that provides battery power, battery backup power to all our servers.
So roughly it'd be treated like it was our equipment, I mean, as far as your attitude towards it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But they're responsible for maintaining the equipment and keeping it up and running.
Any other questions? Jack?
Just out of ignorance, where's our backup computers?
For the AS400, we replicate the data that's on it. Now, the AS400 is the platform that has our accounting system, real estate, the court system, and the public safety system on it. That's all replicated to a facility in Oak Brook over the internet, where we lease basically another AS400. So that if we ever have a disaster, we can go anywhere where we can get an internet connection and get back on that system.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And that passes. Let's move on to the RPC lease agreement, starting January 1 of 17 through December 31st of 2021.
Okay, we've been working on this since the beginning of the year. The rent, the contract is basically the same. It's a 5-year contract period. Rent has increased 10% a year each of those 5 years, which is a significant change in what it has been in the past. But what we are trying to do is move our rental leases closer to the city's average between Urbana and Champaign. For space that would be similar to this, you could be paying anywhere from $11 to $12 a square foot, and we were significantly below that. Now, that was for a reason, the reason being that 21 years ago approximately, RPC loaned the county $1 million for construction funds, and the county paid it back $50,000 a year over the 20-year period, and for that they were given a special rate of basically $5.20 some odd cents per square foot a year, with incremental increases of what what CPI is. So we've increased the rate. If you have looked at the contract, 10% a year, getting it closer, and we'll continue to do that with them until we get it up to, a little closer to 11 bucks.
Very good. That's good news. Can I have a motion on this, please? Mr. Anderson, seconded by Ms. Cruz. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Then can I have, let's go ahead and get a motion on the floor first so we do this right. Can we have a motion on the floor for the number C, the contract for the chiller compressor project? Moved by Mr. Harper, second by Mr. Anderson. Dana.
Okay. This is ITB 2017-001. This is the nursing home chiller compressor replacement project. There are 4 compressors that comprise the large chiller unit at the nursing home. We've been one for 3 years approximately. This was bid out. We took bids, received them on last Thursday, and the low bidder was Johnson Controls, $27,500, significantly below the price estimate. As were most of the bids, we did have 5 bidders that came in and stayed with us, so we felt good about both the bid process as well as the 5 bids. They were all within about 10-15% of them each other. So we're recommending, as did our partner in this, GHR, who we've hired to assist, recommending we move forward with Johnson Controls and hiring them for $27,500.
Any questions for Dana on that one? Sounds like a good deal again. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that'll pass then. Can I have a motion for letter D, the contract 2017-02 for the 2 RUTs on Pod 200 of Brookins? Moved by Mr. Rector. Second, please. Second by Mr. Tinsley. Dana.
Okay, in your packet, there was a bid composite sheet that you should have seen, as well as a letter of recommendation from, again, GHR Engineering for the 2 pods, multi-zone replacements. At your desk, when you showed up, you should have gotten a copy of my recommendation. It should say, kind of at the top under subject line, ITB 2017-002, Champaign County, Brookins, 2 multi-zone. There's 2 of them there. Everybody find it? Okay. We received bids as well for this project last Thursday. It's also one of the reasons that the documentation did not get mailed to you, except yours, which I don't see it. Hopefully it did show up in your post office box. Okay, perfect. Okay. We had 4 bidders who stayed with us through the process for the most part. Low bidder was Reliable Plumbing and Heating. It's $248,500. It is slightly, very slightly above our early projection of what the cost would be. They are local here in Champaign. We have done work with them before. Both GHR and I have talked to them and know their price is firm. They'll do a terrific job. And we feel that we should recommend them and move this contract forward to the board. This is for 2 rooftop units here at Brookins for Pod 200. We have yet to determine, I'm actually attending a meeting tomorrow with Ameren, Illinois, to determine what might be available for this particular project. If you remember back, DCEO used to be in existence in the state. Now it's being run by Ameren entirely. They're the ones always collecting the fees for the project work anyway. So we'll be checking in with them, but I'm sure that this will qualify for some dollars back to our capital asset fund, probably similar to what we got last year for the boilers, somewhere in that $15,000 to $19,000 network, so.
Any questions? Dana, what did we originally estimate on this?
247,500.
Okay, so it's extraordinarily close. Okay,
Really
good.
close.
Okay, very good. If there are no other questions, I will ask for all those in favor to please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. All right, let's move on to E. Can I have a motion on the contract 2017-003 for the Coroner's Office Election Storage and Physical Plant Generator Project? Moved by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Rosales. Dana, please.
Okay. Again, last Thursday, we took bids for this particular project. This is one that's been in the works for several years. This is really assisting the coroner's office for business interruption insurance by purchasing, installing a generator to back up all the electrical power for the building for both the coroner's office, election supply, as well as for the physical plant. Coroner's office, they do a lot of things over there. They have several storage containers that must be kept at proper temperatures, as well as their lighting and AC for 24-hour office work. So it's an important aspect of certainly the coroner's operation. And this project will give us comfort in providing emergency power backup to all three of those entities, which are really all under one large roof. So we had 4 bidders. They did range a little bit. We had 3 that were fairly tight and one that probably overshot it a little bit. PALS Electric Inc. was the low bidder at $83,217. GHR and I have contacted and met with them and feel comfortable with their pricing and their ability. They are located in Teutopolis, Illinois. And we recommend that we move this forward to the county board for approval.
All right, any questions? John?
Yeah, just because I don't know the past, I've only been on county board a short period of time, and people are always asking me about, when we bid things out and then when money goes out of the county. Does anybody know any history? Have we ever looked at, and I'm not saying I want to do this, but if it's within X percent that we keep the dollars here? And I don't know what history we've had on those kind of things.
I honestly, John, I don't know how you could fairly do or perform a bid under that guise, if you will. I mean, we certainly, we don't pre-qualify anybody, but we certainly talk to our local groups, contractors here. That's one of the reasons that you'll see in our documentation that we reach out and contact these vendors to make sure that they understand what our project is, that it's coming out, where to get the information. We make it readily available and available for free. So it's pretty easy to obtain. We hold pre-bid meetings with our expertise, whether it's an architect or an engineer, so they can talk to us, talk to them about the project. We go visit it. So we give everybody an ample opportunity to participate. And I just think that, there's no way to fairly do that by saying only the, corporations and agencies in Champaign County can get bids.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, that's one of the things the constituents ask, and so that's a great answer. So I appreciate that extra information. Thanks, Dana.
Pius?
I would say the majority of our contractors are from within Champaign County. And I guess the advantage of going outside now and then is to sort of keep everybody honest. Is this the first time we've worked with this company from T-Town?
Yes.
This is your old stomping ground, isn't it, Josh? Sort of?
Yeah, I know these guys.
I assume you're not involved in the negotiation, though.
I didn't even know they'd be on the meeting agenda tonight, but yes, I'm aware. Powell's is, as far as from every word I've ever heard, they're a pretty responsible company that does good work, so that's that. Jack?
Just to Mr. Rector's comments, I think if we gave preference to local vendors or contractors, it would have a tendency to inflate the price, because locals would know that outsiders would have to meet that criteria. Say, if it's within 10%, just say if that were the number, then I would automatically think that contractors would inflate it maybe 5, 6, 7%, knowing that their competition has to meet a threshold that's higher. Plus our local contractors are getting jobs outside our own community too that are keeping them employed. So kind of kind of like Dana said, it's fair, I think, if everyone's playing on the same field as opposed to some being given preferential. That's just my logic behind that. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of issuing this, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that passes as well. All right, let's move on to number 10, the Facility Director's Report, and we will start with MedCAD Power, which have some beautiful pictures in our packet.
Several weeks ago, with the large rain that occurred in the county and here in Champaign in particular, we had an issue come up in MedCAD. One of our staff members noticed a significant amount of water on the floor of the basement in one of the mechanical rooms where the main power comes into the building, and that's 1,200 amps, so it's not anything small. It's very large and very dangerous. We opened up the panel, and to our surprise, we found a mess. And frankly, it's a mess. It needs to be cleaned up immediately, hence the emergency. We've reached out to a local electrician, Aladdin here in Urbana. We've got permission from the auditor to do an emergency purchase installation. We're going to try, starting tomorrow, we're going to take the power down to the building, MedCAD. We're running on generator backup. We have rented an additional generator as a backup. This is on a portable trailer from Cummins. And in the next 2 days, both on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll take it down, we'll pull it apart, we'll replace the aluminum wire, which doesn't meet code, with stranded copper from the transformers. We'll dig down to the edge of the building and determine what the status of the current conduit is. It's 4-inch conduit that comes into a high-power electric panel, as you might imagine. That panel, as you saw from the pictures, needs to be replaced. The panel itself is probably about $4,500. It was ordered 2 weeks ago, and it's here. All the parts and pieces are here ready to go. We're going to try and stop any water penetration coming out of the 2 conduit. There's actually 5 in there. And we'll use the other 3 that are very pristine, looking great, no evidence of water penetration at all, as the funneling mechanism for those conduits coming off 3 transformers into the building. And new cabinet, and button it up, and hope for the best that we're successful in fixing our water penetration problem. But it was a significant amount of water. I'm kind of smiling and laughing, but we avoided or averted, or were lucky that we did not have a serious injury or problem with the entire facility. As many of you may know, MedCAD is our 911 call center. We're operational 24/7. So any of the things that you do there in terms of power disruption, they've got UPS backup for about an hour should power go out beyond our emergency generators, but we're in good shape. We ran tests this morning on both the MedCAD's generator for the building, as well as the temporary on the trailer generator. So we're ready to start first thing in the morning. It's not going to be a cheap process. It's been estimated at about somewhere between 32 and 42,000. It's depending upon how much time it takes. We know the cost of the materials, the wiring, et cetera. Ameren's got to come over and do a disconnect at 8 o'clock in the morning and do a little bit of work on their pole and their transformers. One of the other additions will be to the conduits up on the poles, as there will be covers placed over the conduit. That 4-inch conduit is a large open hole, and that's partly where some of the water is penetrating into the conduit. And as you can see from some of those photos, this has been going on for a while. This has not been, just happening in the last few weeks or days. We've had another leak down there, and quite frankly, our thought was it was coming from another area, which it had been, and we were successful in repairing that area, but we were not successful until we opened up that cabinet to really determine the extent of what needs to be done to right the problem. So,
Any questions?
One question.
Go ahead.
Dana, how long is that conduit, do you think?
Conduit itself runs to the pole, so it runs out it's the south, what would be the southwest corner of the building. It runs across the drive and to the pole and then up the pole. So it's probably about 35, 40 feet.
Oh, would it be worthwhile sending a video probe down it to give you an idea where the water's coming in?
Well, part of the issue also, Pius, is that we're getting some sand in. And that building has got, you can imagine what a true basement is. Well, 8 feet out, there's another basement that surrounds Metcad. And keep in mind, this was back in the bomb shelter days. So they created a secondary basement wall and filled that cavity with sand. We're getting some of that sand in there, so we know that we're having some penetration into that sand area, and it's also coming in, not necessarily the pipe, but it could be, but that's one of the reasons we're going to dig up on the outside and
Try to
take a good look
okay.
at those pipes. 3 of them are pristine, no water's coming in there at all, so our task will be to make sure that we're able to make those watertight, which we think we can do. But we're also going to examine the conduit and see if there's been a rupture or break or something happened. If we have to tear up the drive, that's part of the reasons the cost is a little bit unknown. If we have to tear up the drive to go dig out the pipe, that's one of the reasons for the higher cost be added to it. So we just don't know until we really get into it tomorrow. I also mentioned one other thing, that the cost for this and for the next one that I'll talk about will come out of our capital asset fund. I'll pass out here in a second just kind of an update with the bid prices that we've got, where we're at, and with our price estimates for the 2 projects, so you can see where we're at for a total and what we've got left to talk about for the rest of the year. So, any other questions?
Well, I know enough about electricity to hurt myself, so our resident board member, who is an electrician, just sent me a text. Unless the wire insulation isn't the correct type, has a W in it somewhere, or isn't the correct size, there shouldn't be any reason aluminum wire couldn't be used and meet code. It's cheaper per foot, usually even when you have to upsize it compared to copper wire in order to get the correct amperage rating. So
we did go to the city of Urbana, and we've had to get actually secure a permit for the work the contractor has, and the city folks are saying that it's got to be copper.
Oh, really?
So we are complying with the city's request.
I say what's
Obviously, it is more expensive.
Aluminum
But,
in, but yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to relay that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Anyone else? Okay, Dan, let's move on to the sewer leak.
Okay. It's been a fun couple of weeks, folks. Shortly after the rain was the following week, actually, we noticed a sinkhole, as the first picture documents. That picture that you're looking at with kind of a hole in the grass is actually about 3.5 feet in diameter. We could see about 6 feet down in that hole, and we knew it was going to go down a whole lot further. We had county highway come over, and they dug it down to about 6 feet, which is about as far as they can go because they have no trench protection equipment, which would be a steel-sided cage, basically, to prevent cave-ins and getting anybody hurt. Well, after seeing that, knowing that it was much further down, and talking with a few people, we did talk with the auditor and got an emergency authorization to hire Cross Construction. Cross came in the next day, dug down. In fact, the top of the sewer line is at 12 feet. And that's a 10-inch pipe that was down there that you can see in some of the photos. It had probably a 2-foot opening created in it, possibly from one of the last repairs or when animal control was piped in and tapped in. It's possible they could have cracked that old clay pipes from the 60s, 70s. Various reasons this could have cracked, but probably from the last time they worked on it, the integration of animal control into the sewer line was not in great shape either. So from the last several pictures, you can see a large piece of plastic, which is proper, and what everyone does with sewer lines these days is put them in plastic because they don't go bad, instead of clay. We repaired both, and they were able to fill it by the end of the day. The next day on Friday, we came back. They came in and put asphalt back over. We did have to go into the road slightly, but we're able to get that done. I will tell you that they worked on time and material, which they agreed to. They did include a 15% overhead, but the entire price I got this afternoon was $8,043. Frankly, I thought it was going to be closer to $15,000 or $16,000. That price will be charged and will be taken care of out of our capital asset fund. Let me kick these around real quick.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Dan, is that a clean out tube, that vertical tube? Is that for just a clean out tube?
That vertical tube was
Yeah.
put in, that actually is a tie-in. It's interesting that, I just say that. I was a little bit shocked that, the reason when County Highway came over, besides they can't go past 6 feet, that's where we hit the animal control sewer tie-in that comes from their building across Art Bartel over into it, and from that one photo you saw, where you kind of saw the top of the pipe, it goes another 6 feet down. Yeah, they're not as deep. They're 6 feet, and the tile's down at 12. So what I just handed out is an updated capital asset dollars as of today. So our total available dollars is $655,298, with the emergency backup electrical supply priced out. Our total bid, that's bid and all fees, engineering, $101,967. So it leaves $553 and some change. You add in the 2 rooftop units here for Brookins at $278. Again, that's not only just the bid, but that's also the fees from our engineers. Deduct that, you're at $275. And then the compressor for the nursing home, $36,570. We're at $238 remaining. The $8,000 for the animal control, the sanitary repair, and if we take the high estimate of $42,000 and throw that in, so we've got about $188,000 left that we're working with for our capital asset. We still have courthouse parking lot to repair, which is actually coming out of the courthouse fund. So I've not included that in any deductions there. A satellite jail parking lot, which is also part of our ADA work that's budgeted to the tune of about $70,000 for this year. Resealing was on our list for Metcad, and then water heater replacement, as well as conducting a study, which we're just hopefully getting started with in another engineering firm here in town. We're going to wait on these parking lots and just kind of see where we end up. May not be able to get to everything this year, which is what we typically do. We have more on our list than we can possibly do, but we do try and stretch our dollars as humanly possible as we can. So,
Any questions on that for Dana?
Just one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just so I can continue to learn. How many years do you try to get, or do we get out of the sealing and striping of the parking lots? Are those asphalt that, I mean, I know you,
they should be done every 4 or 5 years, but the county doesn't operate that way, John. Okay. So I honestly, we just did a few lots the year before last and last summer. The first lots that have been done here in many years. But they really ought to be done. Mother Nature is brutal on them. And of course, you know, we're responsible for making sure that it's during the winter, this is a safe environment to be able to walk from your car into the building, into a public building in particular. And you can't do that just by scraping, and unfortunately we use salt, and because it's cheaper. Now, close to the building, you know, we use a more green technology that is more expensive, but, you know, within 8 to 10 feet of the building, but you got to use salt out and around, and it's just, it eats asphalt and concrete.
Any other questions? Stan, please.
Then you're basically saying that we sit on this 188,000 because we still got 6 months of the year yet? And
Well,
the resealing and stuff can always be done as,
yeah,
fall.
keep in mind that trying to answer your question, we want to move forward with some, but I want to wait until after we get through with the emergency panel repair. May have another problem or two that pops up. You never know around here. It doesn't go very far. We have no emergency fund for that. But I can't wait. You know, the asphalt plants and typically shut down around here in late October, middle of November, kind of at the latest. They're weather driven, and you can only apply those products during certain temperatures. So we'll look to try and do some of those. We obviously aren't going to get to them all, but we'll see what we can do. We'll get through our immediate needs or emergency needs and get those projects wrapped up and get firm pricing so that we know exactly what we have left before we decide to move forward. So by the next meeting in July, we'll be able to report back and give you good up-to-date information.
Thank you, Dana. Anyone else? Okay, that's the update on that. As you can see, we are a little under our budget for some things came in under, so we're about 100 and some thousand under our so far expenditures. So that's good, but that's never enough. So thank you, Dana, for managing that well. Let's move on. Any other business before the committee? Anybody have anything they want to discuss? All right, well, we'll move on to the chair's report. I have no report. Our next meeting is Wednesday, July 5th at 6:30. Note that is on a Wednesday because of the holiday of the 4th. Designation of items for consent agenda, that would be 9A, B, C, D, and E. Anything else? All right, without objection, I will declare us adjourned.